What's up everybody, this is Andy Nguyen, and today we are participating in a modding challenge of sorts with Asus. We have here the ROG Azoth, ROG Azoth, and it's going to take a lot of the notes from the custom mechanical keyboard world. Let's see how the ROG Azoth stacks up. This video is sponsored, but my opinion is always my own. I really want the gaming companies to come in and really solve our supply issue. Like, we have good keyboards, but they're still in the group buy kind of meta. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of issues as of late where vendors have straight up just left. So let's unbox this bad boy. But hey, you got something. So we got the Azoth in white, okay? This is silver. So we have a pretty cool aesthetic in that this looks like GMK muted. I got like the lighter gray and then the darker gray mods, got some accents, feels pretty good in the hand. Let's talk about the main thing here, and that is right here. We have an OLED screen. Screens are meta right now. It used to be knobs, it used to be volume rockers. But let's just look at the aesthetic before we look at the accessories. Got a two-tone thing going on because the bottom is plastic. Pretty rubbery plastic. I'm not really going to be concerned about any kind of ping here. Side profile has a little bit of flair, kind of looks like a Gundam of sorts. The CNC portion for the aluminum is just a flat top, and it's pretty thin. You have a lot of layers of silicone and foam in here. Silicone adds the heft, makes it feel more quality even though you're cheating a little bit and not having an internal weight. The silicone itself acts as a weight. Tri mode, like I said, you can pop this over, switch between the three modes, and you have a hole to stick your dongle into so you never lose it. Having it stay in there and magnetic, good. Before I get too deep, let's look at the rest of the box. It's nice, that's all included here. We got some grease right here. Pop open this bad boy. Okay, now I'm kind of sticky, but this is actually Krytox 205G0, the authentic lube we use in customs. Krytox 205G0 is kind of the middle of the road, but you use this for lubing linears. Oh my god, they gave us a lube station, extra pour-on gasket tabs. There's a lube tutorial. Oh my god, they're gonna put me out of a job. So this is a plastic switch puller. Here's a metal switch puller. Switch opener. See how this works. Ho, 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 ho. That's pretty cool. Take a moment to look at the lubing here. It's generally pretty light. They lube the stem legs, which is the front, and the stem sliders. This is a long pull linear. You can see how the stem sticks out. These are the proprietary ROG NX switches. Nice long pull punch, smooth actuation, decently minimal stem wobble. This is a very clean switch, and it has the RGB top. Let's look at the rest of this. We've got a custom cable. Oh, an extender that you can clip onto stuff, I guess. Oh, you get a brush too. This is actually a good thickness. A little bit thicker than you want. Yeah, 3 extra switches. All these parts, like this is a nice package. That is a nice screen. And here you can see the shine through. Pull this out. Switch over. Stick this into my USB port. Here you can appreciate the aesthetic in full glory. Nice soft diffuse RGB. There's no hot spots. With this white or silver, the plate itself seems to be aluminum and it is reflecting light back up, so it looks pretty nice. You get a nice glow across. So in terms of the screen, I have control over press the side button. This is very intuitive. Lighting effect. The flickering is just my camera recording it. So this is pretty intuitive, having the main button right here. Other boards with screens, you gotta have like some function command and some function shortcut. And I always forget, I have to pull up the manual. Keep it simple with the rainbow. So with this screen, I think it feels pretty sturdy. So now you get the full view of the beauty of that OLED screen. Look at that. Volume rocker here works great, but I definitely do prefer having it on the left side because that's where my hand is when I'm using the mouse, you know. Having it here at least makes sense for the OLED screen itself. So let's take a step back from staring at the screen. The board has a 75% exploded layout, which works better. Personally, I don't like having it exploded and having offset arrows here and having it explode because it makes it bigger. But in this case, it feels pretty compact. So 75% layouts are basically 65%. And 65% is just here, right? So this is actually basically the same footprint as any other 75% keyboard. It doesn't look any bigger, even though there's a gap here between the regular alphas and the navigation keys. Like, this still generally has a rectangular look, which is pretty aesthetic and balanced. I think this footprint is really not bad at all. I think it has to do with the fact that the bezels are relatively thin all the way across. It's visually pretty balanced. So while you still have a gamer aesthetic in a screen, it's pretty minimal and can be used in a more professional setting. One of the drawbacks here is that because the OLED is so big, it's pushing the F keys to the left. So you're gonna have to adjust your muscle memory a little bit. The case has aluminum top like I mentioned, but I wish they went ahead and used something thicker for the aluminum top. If you look right here, that aluminum top's pretty thin. What's surprising here is that Asus beat its competitors to the market with the silicone gaskets. Pre-builds have started to use gaskets instead of tray mount or some kind of sandwich mount, and they've been using pour-on gaskets pretty heavily. I find that silicone gaskets are easier to install, but it's more consistent in the sound. While you have pour-on gaskets, you can still get like ping and hollowness. With silicone, I really haven't felt that in a lot of boards. So like I mentioned, there is a silicone dampening layer beneath the plate. Normally use PCB foam like pour-on, but they're using silicone here. It's basically going to be a muter for sure, in my opinion. So beneath the plate, we have case pour-on foam. That's going to reduce ping and hollowness. You probably don't need that when you already have a silicone dampener. I don't love the stacking of dampeners where you have the silicone in between and then the case foam beneath, but I'm going to take that over pingy any day. And then below that, they have another silicone layer that fills every little hole and crevice in the board. I expect this to feel very stiff, so let me press it. Yeah, that boy's stiff. So let's take a look at this PCB. So we have a hot swap PCB, meaning you can change your switches, right? Pop that out. So if you look right here, that is a 5-pin hole. All right, you know what 5-pin means? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the fifth one? Is the big honking hole in the middle. All right, that means you don't have to clip your switches. And when I mean clip your switches, that's 5 pins. 1, 2, 2 metal ones, and a big fatty in the middle. Okay, if you have 3-pin PCB, you got to cut these 2 plastic nubs off. It is, however, a north-facing PCB because of the shine through. If you don't have north-facing, you don't get the RGB popping out the top. See how the color is not coming through, man. You need the north facing to have shine through keycaps. So typically in customs, we just give up on the perky RGB, and it makes me sad every single day because I miss it. Because I'm a child and I like RGB. But their stock keycaps are laser engraved ABS. It's a little bit on the thin side, ladies and gentlemen. You got 1 millimeter. GMK is typically 1.5 millimeters thick. Not great. It is what it is. So we looked at the aesthetic, we looked at the specs, we looked at the sound dampening, the screen, the switches. How does it sound? Before we get to that, let's go look at the stabilizers. They advertise factory lube stabilizers and they double lube the spacebar to really make sure that it doesn't have any rattle or tick. Let's see. That's a pretty solid left shift. That is a rock star spacebar. Overall, I don't need to touch up these stabilizers. That is honestly surprising. It really made sure, especially to put a little bit extra love into the spacebar, and it paid off. So let us go ahead and do a quick little typing test. We definitely got a thocky build, but that long pole surprised me. That long pole is actually bringing out a little bit more of the louder, clackier tone. I definitely thought that with the silicone mid layer, the pour-on case foam, and the silicone bottom layer, it was going to sound too deep, especially with the PPT keycaps. But that's actually really smooth and really nice. Of course, because it has a lot of the silicone and the pour-on, it's not going to sound very unique in that regard. But coming from other Asus offerings or other gamer keyboard offerings, this is pretty top tier. And of course, this is a tricked out gamer keyboard. It has that tri-mode. So you got your Bluetooth, you got your wireless dongle, which I'm using right now, and wired. Long battery life. They told me 2,000 hours battery life with RGB off, but who wants to live life with RGB off? That's what you get from the factory. Pretty dang solid performance. Now let's mod this thing. So my theme is water. I learned how to swim later in life, but I love the Great Wave art. So of course, we had to make custom keycaps with that theme. This is from Goblin Tech Keys. So I love the Great Wave art, so I wanted to make it a keycap set. That looks really nice. It looks like it's papery, but that's just the art I chose. Right, this looks to be thicker than the stock shine through keycaps. We're getting 1.5 millimeter thickness here, so thickness similar to GMK ABS. So this should bring out more stock than the stock keycaps. But to follow along with the theme, I got one more thing. Because really, with the sound of the keyboard, so I'm gonna mod myself. So we dressed up like a shark to fit the theme. Oh, who's that? That's Jackson. He is also a shark. This is unique, and I freaking love it. In terms of modding it, I thought I was gonna have to use a little bit of the grease that was provided, but I don't have to do that. Like, the stabilizers are good. All right, Jackson, can you put on the keycaps for me? So I have to dock Asus here. They're using proprietary stabilizers, which is probably why this sound is so good. I pulled it off horribly, but that is a weird plate mount stabilizer, bro. Continue to do this. Bro, I pulled that off symmetrically. The good thing about this design is that it doesn't really pop the wire, but the keycaps are kind of tight. And it pulls the stem with it. I don't know if there's a trick to putting this back, but oh, there you go. I'm gonna use a puller. I'm gonna use their puller. Just, bro, I'm an angry shark. And there you have it. We have a themed keyboard, and it looks freaking great. I wanted to use other switches. We're keeping it so we can keep that color, and dang, that looks good. So in terms of modding this keyboard, dude, you don't need to mod anything. This is a very popular sound with the long pole. So I come to the conclusion, I don't think the silicone, the foam, and the silicone is doing a lot of, say, damage to limit the types of sounds that can come out of the keyboard, but rather the thick keycaps here, the thick PPT keycaps, are making everything sound kind of dull and deep. Once we switch back to the 1.mm ABS keycaps, they come with the Asus ROG Azoth. Dude, it sounds poppy. Like, I actually like the thinner ABS caps here, especially since it lets you have the shine through for those people who like to game or use their computers in the dark. For the sake of science, we threw in diamond polished Cherry MX blacks as well as GMK Striker to really take this keyboard to the next level. The Asus ROG Azoth is a pretty solid package. I think it's a very well-rounded sounding and feeling board, but once we get to the point of taking it apart, one, the stabilizers, they're proprietary and they're going to pop off. I do like the fact that the screws here are all exposed. If you look at the top and bottom, the screws on the exterior, they do want you to take this apart. A lot of pre-builds, although they're hot swap, make it really hard to take it apart. If you don't like the silicone and foamy sound, if you want a little bit poppier, you could take out the PCB foam. I personally like how it sounds as it is. Surprisingly, the acoustic design of the board doesn't mute the switch too horribly. Sound, you can't really compare it to the pure sound of a top mount custom TKL that's CNC aluminum with a brass weight. That's not what this product is for. This product is for mass production to get keyboards into more hands without group buy at a pretty reasonable price. This fully built keyboard with stabilizers, switches, and keycaps is $249, and you should be able to get it from any store, and that is a move in the right direction. I do want to see if Asus or their competitors, who's going to be first to bring a full CNC aluminum or maybe even brass weight or PVD weight board to the mass market, but until then, this is a great step in the right direction. You got your RGB, you got a clean aesthetic, you got a pretty functional layout, and a screen and multiple connectability to take us to the modern age. So it's really dope to see Asus enter the market. More competition, more options are always better for the consumer. Thanks Asus for sponsoring this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.